Today in our 2016 GMC Canyon, we're going to be installing Roadmaster's Direct Connect Baseplate Kit. This baseplate is going to give you an attachment point for tow bars so you can haul your vehicle behind your motorhome. They're custom fit for your GMC Canyon and are going to be a replacement for the tow hooks that come pre-installed in your vehicle. When not in use, the portion that connects to your tow bars is removable by pulling the pin, giving it a twist, and then sliding it out. And now you're back to your factory look. You don't even know that it's there. When you're ready to use it again, simply slide in the arm, twist it until it clicks into place. Take the other end of your tow bars, then line up the arms on your tow bars with your base plate. Slide the pin through and then lock it in place. Now that our tow bar is fully installed, we can make all the rest of our necessary connections. We'll hook our safety cables up to our base plate, making sure to cross those side to side. Connect our electrical connection. And our breakaway switch. Now all that's left is to place our vehicle into tow mode and hit the road. For your complete flat tow setup on your 2016 GMC Canyon, we'll be using SMI Stay and Play Duo supplemental braking system, Roadmaster's Direct Connect Baseplate Kit, Roadmaster's Diode Wiring Kit, Roadmaster's Automatic Battery Disconnect, Roadmaster's Stoplight Switch Kit, Roadmaster's Falcon All-Terrain Non-Binding Tow Bars, Roadmaster's 64-inch single hook safety cables, and you may or may not need a high-low adapter. We'll begin our installation under the hood by removing the 9 push pins that are located across the front and back of our top panel here. We'll use a flat-bladed screwdriver or a trim panel remover tool to pull those out. You'll take your screwdriver or tool. You'll want to go underneath the top part of the tab, pop the head of that up, and then you can just pull the pin out. We'll repeat that for all the remaining pins. We'll then pull our panel off and set it aside. We'll now remove the 6 Torx screws that are located here on top that hold your fascia on. We're going to use a T15 Torx to remove those. Now inside of our fender well, we're going to need to remove 5 Torx bolts that are located on the inner lip here. To access those, I recommend that you turn the wheel all the way to the inside, and that'll allow you to get in there with your tools. It's going to be the same T15 Torx socket. We can then pull our fender liner back. And get access to the bolts located here. It's going to be a little difficult to see in there, but we're going to use a 7mm socket to remove those 3 bolts. Now that we've got all our bolts out in there, you want to turn your wheel the other direction like we have here, and we're going to repeat that same process on the other side. There are then 3 bolts within the slot below our grill here that we're going to need to remove. You're going to need a long extension and a 10mm socket to get to those. There's a small hole cut out on each side that we're going to stick our extension into and take a bolt out. And then towards the middle, it's just a little bit towards our passenger side, you're going to have one in a square opening that you're also going to need to remove. It's okay if it sits in there. We're going to be taking it off momentarily. Just don't forget about it. Now we're underneath the vehicle at the front. We're going to remove the undershield. There's 4 bolts we're going to take out with a 15mm socket. After you've removed the last bolt, we can take our panel down and set it aside. Now we'll take out the 2 bolts located here at the front that were underneath our shield there. We're going to use a 10mm socket. On our fender liner, there is 2 more bolts that we're going to need to remove that are at the bottom towards the inside. I find those are easier to get to underneath. And we're going to use that same T15 Torx to remove those as well. We want to make sure you get the ones on the other side also. Once those bolts are removed, you can pull your fender liner back, revealing your fog lamp connector. We're going to want to remove that by pressing in on the release tab that's on top of the connector and pulling outward. You can see your release tab here, and that just presses in. We'll do the same on the other side. And now right next to your fender liner, you're going to have 1 bolt that we're going to need to remove on each side using a 7mm socket. We can now remove our fascia. Starting on one side, you're going to want to pull down a little bit to get those tabs off, and then you can pull out. And then grab it in the center, and we'll now set it aside where it won't get damaged. We'll now need to remove our plastic air dam here. There are 3 push pins located at the top. We're going to remove those just like we did the ones that were on top of our fascia. You're going to take your trim panel tool or screwdriver to pry out the center, and then you can remove the rest of the pin. Next, we'll need to release the tabs located on each side so we can get our panel off. I recommend using a hook coming in from one side. You're going to have to pull the release tab out, which is actually towards the inside of the vehicle. So you want to get behind it, pull it in, and then you can pop it out like that. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Now you can pull it off and set it aside. Next, we'll remove our bumper beam. There's 2 bolts located on each side we're going to remove with a 15mm socket. We can then take our bumper beam off and set it aside. Now we're going to remove the tow hooks on each side. You're going to need an 18mm socket and wrench to remove the nuts and bolts on each tow hook. There's 2 bolts per tow hook. We can then set our tow hooks aside. We won't be reinstalling these, as our base plate's going to replace them. We're now going to install our base plate. You want to make sure that you put red Loctite on your hardware before you install it. So we're just going to put a little on each of our bolts. There's going to be 2 bolts per side. Take the base plate for the side that you're working on. We're on our passenger side here. And when your base plate is up there, you'll want the round edge facing towards the front of the vehicle, and the hook here should be towards the center of the vehicle. And it'll line up like this. Your bolt holes will line up with the holes where your bumper beam was removed. We'll take the bolts and we're going to slide them through the holes in the side of the base plate. And this is going to go right where those tow hooks that we removed were. So this is going to go through the same hole. They'll push through, and then on the other side we're going to place flat washers followed by lock washers and a nut. And we just want to loosely install these for now. We don't want to tighten them down until we've got the other side done and the bumper beam in, because we want to make sure that they're aligned properly. So we'll now repeat this for the other side. We can now put our bumper beam back on. You want to slide that back into place. Then you need to line the holes up with your bumper beam. They'll need to line up with the holes in your base plate and with the hole where your factory weld nut is, where we removed our hardware. We're going to use the factory hardware to reattach that. Once you get one started on each side, it'll make it easier to get the rest of your hardware installed. Now, if you're having trouble getting all of your bolts in, due to manufacturer variances, The holes may be slightly misaligned, and you may have to grind those out to adjust for that. We can now go back and tighten down our hardware. We're going to start with the bumper beam and then go to our base plate bolts. We can then go back and torque all of our hardware to the specifications found in our instruction. We'll now prepare our fascia for reinstallation. The foam beam here will need to be removed. There's 2 plastic clips that hold it in place. Take your screwdriver and you want to spread the clip apart so you can remove it. So you're just kind of getting behind it, spreading it, and once you can get your screwdriver in there, you can pop it off. We'll do that to the other one over here. And then it'll just slide off. We won't be reinstalling it, so you can just set it aside. Now we'll need to slightly enlarge the holes where our tow hooks were for our base plate to fit through. You'll see the yellow markings that I've put around the edges, indicating where we're going to cut it out. It's mostly just making the corners a little bit bigger. We'll then use a rotary tool to grind those out. Once you've got everything cut out, you can use a razor knife or a file to just clean up all the rough edges. This will knock off all the burrs as well. Now the fascia is off. The best time to mount your wiring is while you're installing your base plate and you already have the fascia removed. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's Direct Connect baseplate kit on our 2016 GMC Canyon.